Welcome to Log Furniture How To, the most all-inclusive site on the net for log and rustic furniture, fixtures, and decor. That's logfurnitureHowTo.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the San Juan Carpentry YouTube channel. My name is Scott Schaefer, and today I'm going to show you how to build a side table. This particular side table I use plank boards that are not glued together, so it's not a solid glue up. This video is going to show you how to assemble the table and how to kind of design it. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details about the different parts, but there will be links throughout the video. So if you want to see how to carve a tenon, there will be that link. If you want to see how to do the puzzle cut shelf, there will be that link. Those videos will open up in separate windows. You can watch them, then close them down, and then start watching this one from where you took off from. So it's really easy like that. You're welcome. Let's get started. To get started, we're going to cut our tabletop boards to length and run them through the planer. I want my table to be 25 inches long, so I cut them at 27 inches to give me room to work with later on. We'll also be planing up the board for the T-supports, which I cut at 18 inches because my table is 20 inches wide. I'm going to plane them all down to about 1.75 inches. Step 2, we're going to run all the boards across the joiner to give us a nice edge to work with. Step 3, at the table saw, I'm going to first rip my T-supports from the 18-inch board down to 3.5 inches. To get the width of the center board on the table, I'm going to measure the combined width of the outer boards and then figure out the difference I need to get my table 20 inches wide, and that's what I'll be ripping my center board at. Step 4, I'm taking the T-supports to the chop saw to cut them down to the exact length I want, which is 16 inches. I'm also going to put a 5-degree bevel at the ends to add a little style. You do what you want. Since my tabletop boards are too big for the chop saw I currently have, I'll be using a square jig and a circular saw to cut them down to 25 inches. Step 5, we need to sand all of our boards, first with 80 grit, then again with 120. And since sanding is like watching paint dry, we'll skip ahead now. Step 6, we're going to drill the holes for our tenon legs into the bottom of the T-supports. I'm using a 2-inch tenon, so I'll be drilling a 2-inch hole. I'm also setting my depth stop to 3/4 inch, so each hole is the same. Step 7, we begin crafting the legs. My table is 22 inches tall, so I need to measure the thickness of my T-support and tabletop boards, less the 3/4 for the hole, and deduct that from 22 inches to get the length of my legs. Step 8, with the legs cut to length, it's time to carve the tenons. To learn how to carve a tenon using a draw knife, click on the link now and you can continue watching this afterwards. While the log is on the lathe, I'm going to sand the whole thing with 120 grit. Step 9, I'm going to drill the holes in the legs for the tenon logs that will be holding the shelf. This time I'm using 1.5-inch tenons and therefore an 1.5-inch drill bit for this hole. I'm centering the hole 3 inches above the floor, and again, I'm going to drill each hole equal depths. Step 10 takes me back to the bench where I'll be drilling the pilot holes through each leg and through the T-supports. On the side of the leg and board, opposite the tenon holes, I'm going to drill a 15/16 inch countersink for the 1-inch plugs. Step 11 gets exciting, so try to focus here. I begin the assembly of the table by putting glue in the tenon holes on the T-supports and inserting the legs. If this is your first rodeo, you may want to assemble the legs dry, that means without glue, on this first round. With the legs in place, I'll drive my bolts through the T-supports and into the legs. Make sure the holes for the shelf are facing perpendicular to the T-support. Repeat all of this on the second pair of legs. Step 12, I'm going to set the legs apart from each other just far enough so that the tabletop will have a 2-inch overhang at both ends of the table. With the legs in place, measure the distance you need to make the supports. Hopefully these lengths are damn near identical. Step 13, I'm going to craft the legs that hold the shelf. I have a video for that too, so to watch that video, click on the link you see, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. Step 14, with all my structural parts made, I'm now going to put glue in each joint, if I haven't already, and bolt everything down. As you do this, use clamps and a square to make sure the table goes together square. You also want to use a level to make sure your shelf support logs are rolled to be flat with each other. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you didn't watch the video I just told you to watch, so there's that link again. Step 15, I'm going to add the tabletop boards. I'm drilling my countersink holes at different distances from the ends of the board for aesthetic value, but you can do yours in a straight line if you want, it just won't look as pretty. I'm drilling just the countersink because I'll be using wood screws to fasten them down, and I know that they won't crack my boards. If you're using a hardwood, you may want to drill a small pilot all the way through. The countersink is 7/16 of an inch because I use 1/2 inch plugs for these. With all my holes drilled, I'll start with the center board by getting it centered. That's why I just called it the center board. Again, make sure the whole piece remains square as you fasten these boards. Use a spacer of some kind when attaching the outer boards, and make sure your screws aren't going to poke through the bottom of the T-square. I'm also using a level clamped to the center board to make sure the outer boards line up flush. Step 16 is almost the last step. No, not really. I'm going to plug my holes on the tabletop with my 1/2 inch plugs as I just previously said I would. To make sure they don't go anywhere, I'm squirting some glue in the hole before I tap them in. Once they're in place, I'm going to sand them flush. Step 17, I'm going to make the shelf. The shelf I'm going to make is very similar to the puzzle cut shelf, except that the seams between the boards will be straight to match the tabletop. The added challenge here is to make sure the shelf boards are perpendicular to the tabletop boards. You can accomplish this by trimming the outer boards where they fit to the legs. Trimming around the front left leg and back right leg will twist the boards clockwise. Trimming the opposite legs will twist them counterclockwise. To see the puzzle cut video to learn everything else you need to know, click on the link you see now. Step 18 consists of plugging and sanding any remaining holes. Don't forget about those 1-inch holes on the side of each leg. Step 19, I'm going to balance the table using my flat bench and a belt sander. You can use your handheld belt sander and a big piece of particle board, or install adjustable feet that you can get at any hardware store. Step 20 will bring us on home. Use your 120 grit sandpaper to lightly round the bottom edge of your legs. This will keep the legs from chipping should the table be slid across a floor. Alright, so the table's finished. Not a whole lot more to say about it. There are a lot of different ways you can finish the piece. You can do an epoxy on the tabletop, which I actually recommend if you're going to be setting drinks and stuff on it. If it's just going to hold a lamp and some magazines, probably not that big of a deal. Just Danish oil is good enough. I use Danish oil on everything unless something needs epoxy. If you want to see the video about how to apply Danish oil on a piece like this, actually it's going to be this piece specifically, just click on this link right here and that'll take you over there. Otherwise, please subscribe to the channel, share it on Facebook, like it. You can leave questions and comments down below. I do respond to questions, so feel free to do that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. The music you heard in this video was performed by Colorado pianist Lacey Black. To find out more about Lacey, you can visit her website at lacyblack.net or find her on Facebook. Bam!